Okay, in this second part of the tutorial we're going to grab our images that we created inside of Photoshop, and we're going to set them up inside of 3ds Max to use as a template or a guide. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is create some geometry to place our maps on. So let's make sure it's a box. Let's change the creation method here to cube. In the top viewport, let's click and drag close to where the origin is, where those black lines intersect, and we're just going to drag out. And right click to exit the creation mode. Let's right click in the perspective viewport. Let's go Alt W and Z. So Alt W will maximize it and Z will zoom selected. Let's go to the modify tab. Let's dial in the length and width on this. So let's dial in here. Let's go 1000 by 1000 by 1000. And the reason and we can hit Z again. The reason I've done that is because the images we created were set at 1000 by 1000, and this will just make it easier to set up. So let's right click and convert this cube to an editable poly. Actually, let's convert it to an editable mesh. We're going to use an editable mesh. Let's go into element mode. Let's select the whole mesh. And the reason we're using editable mesh is because it's got a tool in it called explode. So we're going to use this explode tool. So it's found down under edit geometry here. So these are obviously your rollouts, these little areas. When you click them, they'll expand and roll out. Okay, so let's click on explode, and let's make sure it explodes to objects. So click on explode, just okay, that's fine. And now you can see that we've got all these different objects in the scene. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to select all those objects and right click and go convert to editable poly. So now they're polygon objects. Okay, so let's go into our front viewport. Let's select our polygon selection tool and let's click once. So if we hit P on the keyboard and go to our perspective viewport, you can see we've selected the front plane there of this box. So let's go delete. So we don't want that one. Let's go L on our keyboard and that'll take us in the left viewport. Let's select that one and let's just go hit P again, make sure we've got the right one selected. We do. Let's go delete. And I know that we want the bottom one, we don't want the top one, so let's select the top one and hit delete. Next thing I want to do is I'm going to select this polygon here, go into polygon selection mode, and here under edit polygons I'm going to choose flip. So I'm inverting the normal there. So basically if I deselect that, you shouldn't be able to see this, and we're going to be doing something about that. So basically let's select it, right click on it and go object properties. Let's uncheck or check backface cull and go OK. So now you can see that we can only see through one side of it, the side with the normal. Okay, so I'm going to repeat that process on all of these ones. So once again, select it, flip, and then right click, object properties, backface cull, and do the same for this one. Select it, flip, and right click, object properties, backface cull. So you can see there, and as I rotate around they disappear when I don't need to see them. I'm going to change my shading here from realistic to shaded. Okay, just going to get a more reliable and flatter view. Okay, so we need to now adjust and bring in our textures. So let's open up the material editor. For this one I'd like you to use, so if you're in the slate material editor, which is this one here, just go up to modes and go compact. If you're only seeing several of these material editor slots, you need to click on this one here, this button options. So click on options, I'll bring up this pop-up, and down the bottom under slots there, change it from 3x2 to 6x4, and OK that, and you should see all of these. So the trick here is we're going to try and not do too many repetitive tasks. So we're going to set up one material, and then we're going to use that material as a template to create our other materials. So let's name this one. I like to name it template, and let's make this one the side _01, and always hit enter when you type anything into 3ds Max. Okay, so just going to lift this up so we can see it. I'm going to expand the maps rollout here, and I'm going to click on opacity. So I'm going to click on the none button next to opacity. That'll open up the material maps browser. I'm going to choose bitmap, and in here I'm going to navigate to the desktop, the knife templates, and I need to find the side one. So I might change my view to details. So here I've got my side one here. I'm going to make sure I'm going to override the gamma to 1 and open that. Okay, so now I'm going to go up to the parent. I'm going to select the side one, and I should name it wrong there, probably because that thing keeps coming out. And I like to name my objects the same as my materials and vice versa. So template side 01, and that is the wrong one, I'm pretty sure. That'll be template template front. This will be template top. Back to my material editor. So I brought that image in. Here it is. This is what it looks like. Okay, so in here, another thing I'm going to do, I'm going to change the diffuse color from grey, and I'm going to choose a very, very bright blue. Like that. Okay, that. So now if I select my template side, or the template side material, I'm going to go assign material to selection and show material in viewport. Okay. So you can see there, that's the way it's facing. I actually want it to face the other way. So I'm going to go in here and I'm going to apply what we call a UVW map. Not an unwrap UVW, but a UVW map. And in this modifier, I'm going to find the correct alignment. So let's try X, let's try Y, let's try fit. There we go. So you might try a little bit of, might be a little bit of mucking around with trying the right ones, clicking on fit to get it to show up correctly. Okay, so now I've set up this material. I'm then going to click and drag and drop it over this side. So I'm going to change this one to template top. I'm going to click on this, I'll just bring it down. Click on this opacity one here. You can see it's taking us to the child level, and you can see here bitmap, this is the directory where it's getting that map from. So let's click on that, and instead of the side one, I'm going to grab the top one and make sure that override is selected. Okay, I'm going to go back up to parent and select the template top, assign that material to it, and you can see once again it's flipped around. So I'm just going to go and apply once again a UVW map modifier to it, and you can see there instantly just by applying that it's flipped it around, and now it is in the correct position with the blade pointing this way. Okay, once again copy that material over, I'm going to change it to front and bring in the front material. And there it is, front. Make sure that the override is 1 and open that. I'm going to select my object, assign it to it, and I can close down the material editor. So I'm pretty happy with how that's set out. Now you could probably get away with just these two, but one thing you will notice here is that it's looking not very nice. It's looking a little bit dodgy in there. So what we can do to fix that up is, let's click on this one here. Actually, let's click on shaded. Let's click on configure, and in here let's click on display and performance, and here under viewport images and texture display resolution, see where it says texture maps. Let's change that to 1024, apply and OK, and you should see that it's a much better example of what we're getting. So the last thing we really need to do is to select our objects here. Once we've got them selected, let's go to our manage layers. Let's create new layer. Let's name it template, and let's freeze that layer so we don't need to we can't move it. So bang, you see once you freeze it, this is what happens. So there's one thing we need to do. Let's go and select all those objects, right click, object properties, and here under display properties, let's make sure show frozen in grade does not have a tick next to it. We can OK that. So now when we freeze it, they're there. We can't select them, we can't move them, you don't want them to move, and you're ready to go to start creating. So you could go into your top viewport, you could grab a box, you could say okay, maybe not a cube, grab your box, start doing that, go into your front viewport just by hitting F, go here, convert it to an editable poly, drag these down, hit F3, or Alt X would be the better one. Oops, and another thing I've done wrong there, and just so you know, I've got this tick sitting here for the template, so now it's instantly frozen. You can see the box is there. If I select the box and I go select, then I put my tick back on the default one and go add selected objects. Now everything that you create will be on this default layer and not on this template layer which is frozen. So that's a good trick to sort of, or a thing to realize when you start using this layer manager. So now if I go Alt X, I can then see through my object. I can then go in here and start looking at creating some, oops, maybe not some chamfers, maybe connects there, and I might say to myself, I just want to get the general shape happening first off, so I can start to select my vertices. And start to align these a little bit better, and you probably put them up the top there. Okay, and that's how you go about adjusting and modeling your objects. Okay, so any questions about this, please contact me. It's all pretty straightforward. I actually believe this is the best way to set up your templates inside of 3ds Max.